The Aurora Central Station gleamed with polished marble floors and towering glass ceilings. The morning light streamed through frost-covered windows, casting prismatic rainbows across the bustling terminal. Olivia Bennett, the notoriously cold 38-year-old tech billionaire and CEO of the nation's leading AI corporation, strode through the crowd with her 8-year-old daughter Lily Bennett trailing behind, clutching her mother's designer coat. Lily whispered nervously, "Mom, there are so many people. I don't like crowds." Olivia was heading toward the exclusive VIP lounge when she abruptly stopped. She saw a single dad, weary but smiling, in a faded railway uniform, gently adjusting the scarf around his 9-year-old son's neck. The boy, Jackson Brooks, was laughing at something his father said, their joy radiating like warmth in the cold station. Lily froze, utterly captivated. Olivia frowned deeply. "Lily, stop staring at that humble bench." But the girl whispered, "Mom, I want to sit next to them." Ethan Brooks, 36, was exhausted but happy. He was a single father working grueling shifts as a railway engineer, monitoring tracks by night and maintaining signal systems by day, all to provide for his 9-year-old son, Jackson. Their life was modest, but rich in love. Despite their limited budget, Ethan always made sure to spend quality time with Jackson after his overnight shifts, celebrating small moments together. Today was especially important. Jackson had just won first place in his school science fair. The exclusive VIP lounge was far out of their league. But Ethan had found a comfortable bench near the main terminal where the morning light was warm and the view of the trains was spectacular. When a cleaning staff member noticed them sitting in a quieter premium waiting area, Ethan didn't move, fearing the embarrassment of being asked to leave. He simply wanted Jackson to enjoy watching the magnificent locomotives for just one morning. Jackson was a ray of sunshine, bright, curious, and remarkably observant, always eager to ask questions about how things worked. He was busy studying the electronic departure board, entirely unaware that the most powerful photographed woman in the tech industry was about to walk into his life. Olivia Bennett, meanwhile, had chosen this morning for an important journey to a major technology conference, a controlled appearance of innovation to reinforce her cutting-edge corporate image. She had planned to wait in the private VIP lounge, but Lily refused to budge. "Mom, I want to sit with that boy," Lily insisted, pulling her sleeve. "He looks so happy. His dad is laughing with him." Olivia, a woman whose life revolved around algorithms and corporate strategy, was surprised by her daughter's raw, uncharacteristic display of emotion. She was usually as reserved as her mother. She realized her own wealth had bought her daughter silence, not joy. A nervous station manager approached Olivia, whispering urgently, "Madam, that family, they may not be suitable for your waiting area. Perhaps the executive lounge?" Olivia looked from her daughter's pleading eyes to the manager's condescending face. Her corporate edge returned, cold and decisive. "My daughter decides," she stated flatly. She walked straight to Ethan's modest bench near the departure board. Ethan looked up and nearly dropped his coffee. He found himself face to face with Olivia Bennett, the woman whose face graced every technology magazine and business news channel. Olivia skipped the pleasantries. Her delivery was direct, almost startling. "My daughter wishes to sit here. May we?" Jackson, delighted by the prospect of a new friend, beamed. "Absolutely. You can sit right here, miss. My dad just bought hot chocolate from the vendor." Ethan, flustered by the overwhelming presence of the billionaire and the subtle scent of expensive perfume, quickly made room on the bench for them. In that moment, he felt a profound sense of disorientation, thinking, she belongs to another world entirely. Why would she want to sit with us? The two children instantly connected. Lily, reserved moments ago, was captivated by Jackson's enthusiastic explanations of how train signals worked and his easygoing nature. They spoke about school, science projects, and their favorite video games. Ethan and Olivia, two people worlds apart in wealth and status, sat in an awkward, profound silence, the only thing they shared being the deep, protective love for their children. As Ethan gently helped Jackson zip up his jacket against the cold draft, Lily leaned closer, her eyes fixed on the simple, caring gesture. Olivia watched Ethan's hands, weathered, calloused hands that had clearly known hard physical labor. She realized that Ethan, despite his modest job, provided a fundamental, hands-on connection that her highly paid assistants and nannies simply could not replicate. Her world was one of delegation. Ethan's was one of personal presence and care. The contrast was devastatingly clear. The girl asked Ethan, her voice soft with genuine curiosity, "Sir, can you show me how the train signals work? Like you showed Jackson?" Olivia froze entirely. Her daughter, Lily, had never asked anyone other than her tablet or her private tutors to explain anything to her. She trusted this stranger instantly, recognizing the genuine knowledge in his patient demeanor. A group of wealthy business travelers seated in the nearby premium area immediately noticed the scene, the aloof tech billionaire sitting awkwardly with a visibly working-class railway worker. Whispers started circulating, sharp and judgmental. Is she researching the common people, perhaps a publicity stunt for her AI ethics campaign? Olivia, who despised gossip, tensed, ready to stand up and end the interaction. But Lily's small hand gripped her arm. "Mom, I like him. He explains things like he actually cares." Jackson, ever loyal, chimed in. "My dad is the smartest person ever. He knows everything about trains. He once found a broken rail sensor that could have caused a huge accident." Olivia found herself smiling, a genuine human smile she rarely allowed herself, at the children's innocent defense of Ethan. It was a moment of true, unscripted warmth, something her cold tech empire desperately lacked. Ethan, keenly aware of the curious stares around them, kept his focus on the children, not wanting to draw more attention, knowing the social gap between them was already causing discomfort. Lily, watching Jackson's animated explanations with delight, declared cheerfully, "I want hot chocolate too, like Jackson's." The station vendor, recognizing Ethan's worn uniform and simple watch, looked at him with thinly veiled condescension, addressing him with obvious derision. "Perhaps the young lady would prefer something from the executive lounge, sir? We serve a more refined clientele there." Olivia's eyes flashed with cold fury. She cut the vendor off, her voice dropping several degrees. "Bring 2 more hot chocolates to this bench immediately. And send the receipt to my corporate account," she commanded. The vendor recoiled, stammering an apology as he hurried away. A prominent tech investor, Mrs. Harrington, from the nearby premium lounge, couldn't contain her disdain. She spoke loudly enough for half the terminal to hear. "I thought the Bennett dynasty traveled in private jets, not public benches. What a spectacle. Olivia, your shareholders will love seeing you slumming with railway workers." Ethan lowered his face, already accustomed to this casual contempt. The words felt like a familiar sting, a constant reminder of his humble position. Jackson, however, was furious. He stood up from the bench, his small chest swelling with protective indignation. "My dad is more important than everyone here. He keeps people safe. You are being really mean." Lily immediately stood up too, joining his side. "Mr. Ethan is way more interesting than all the boring assistants at my house. He actually knows real stuff." Olivia watched the 2 children standing together, a small, fierce, protective alliance around Ethan. It was the most animated, passionate thing she had ever seen her daughter do. She felt a surge of admiration, realizing that Ethan, the railway engineer, was the most genuine person in the terminal. But the moment of connection was dramatically interrupted. The station lights flickered violently, then plunged into complete darkness. Emergency backup lights cast an eerie red glow across the terminal as a massive snowstorm that had been building outside finally knocked out the main power grid. Passengers screamed and scrambled in confusion. The electronic departure boards went black, and the heating system shut down, sending a wave of bitter cold through the building. Lily grabbed her mother's arm, terrified. "Mom, I can't see anything. What's happening?" Olivia felt her heart race. She had conquered boardrooms and hostile takeovers, but this raw, physical chaos was completely outside her expertise. Ethan, instantly assessing the situation, recognized the danger of panic spreading through the crowded terminal. His emergency training, dormant for years, kicked in immediately. He didn't hesitate. He stood up and began directing people in a calm, authoritative voice. "Everyone, please stay where you are. Do not rush toward the exits. The emergency lighting will guide us. Move slowly toward the central waiting area, away from the glass windows." His voice cut through the chaos like a beacon of stability. His hands moved with the confidence and precision of a man who had managed crisis situations before. The panicked passengers began to follow his instructions. The station staff whispered in amazement. "Who is that man? He's organizing everything better than our emergency protocols." Jackson immediately took Lily's hand, squeezing it reassuringly. "It's okay, Lily. My dad handles stuff like this all the time. Just stay close to me. I've got you." Lily's trembling stopped. She looked at Jackson with grateful, wide eyes, feeling safer than she had in years. Olivia watched Ethan's calm, authoritative presence commanding the frightened crowd, and Jackson's protective instinct over her daughter. She realized that in this moment of genuine crisis, her enormous wealth and corporate power were utterly useless. Ethan made sure the immediate area was secure, then turned to Olivia and the children. "We need to move to the central shelter area," he said, his voice steady but urgent. "This storm is severe and the temperature is dropping fast. Follow me." Once the crowd had been guided to safety, Ethan led Olivia, Lily, and Jackson to a more protected corner of the terminal, a quieter space away from the main chaos. The children were already engaged in a game that Jackson invented, counting the red emergency lights, their innocent laughter providing a strange comfort in the tense atmosphere. Olivia sat opposite Ethan, finally letting her corporate guard slip. She sighed, the sound heavy with the weight of her empire. "I'm completely useless here. I run a company worth billions, and I couldn't even calm my own daughter." Ethan looked at his lukewarm coffee, then back at her. "You were scared," he said simply. "That's human. Your daughter needed reassurance, not a business strategy. Fear doesn't respond to algorithms." Olivia looked up, surprised. "You speak with unusual clarity. What is your background, Ethan? You handled that crowd like a trained crisis manager. Your instincts were professional, precise." Jackson ran over, pulling at his father's sleeve. "Tell her about the time you stopped the accident, Dad, the big one from last year." Olivia looked at Ethan, her curiosity intensely piqued. "Stopped an accident?" Ethan let out a long breath, deciding to share the truth he had kept private for years. "I wasn't always just a track maintenance engineer," he revealed, the admission heavy. "I was a senior safety monitoring specialist for the entire regional rail network. I helped design some of the early warning systems that prevent derailments." He paused, the true weight of his history settling in the space between them. "But I stepped down from that position after a colleague died in an accident 3 years ago. I was coordinating a safety inspection remotely when a section of track failed. The warning system I helped design flagged the danger, but my colleague, Marcus, went to check it manually before we could halt train traffic." He explained further, his voice rough with old grief. "I was hundreds of miles away, consulting on a new sensor installation. His supervisor called me for guidance mid-inspection. I gave the protocol, thinking I was helping, but the track gave way before Marcus could get clear. I was saving systems, but I was unavailable to save the one person who trusted my judgment most. It felt like my obsession with being the best safety analyst had created a distance that killed him. So I left the senior position. I traded industry recognition for being present for Jackson, where I could never be too far away. Olivia's expression softened, recognizing the profound guilt and sacrifice hidden behind his simple railway uniform. It was the first time she saw the engineer, not the maintenance worker, a man who had traded professional prestige for personal penance. Then, without warning, Lily, who had been laughing with Jackson moments before, suddenly stopped playing. Her face went pale, and she slumped against the wall. Olivia panicked. "Lily! Lily, what's wrong?" Ethan, the trained emergency responder immediately resurfacing, knelt beside the girl and assessed her condition. "Her skin is cold and clammy and her pulse is weak. She's experiencing acute hypoglycemia, compounded by the cold and stress of the situation." Lily's eyes fluttered, her breathing shallow and rapid. "Mom, I feel really dizzy. Everything is spinning." The cold, the fear, the sudden trauma of the blackout had overwhelmed her young system. Olivia tried to comfort her, but Lily seemed to withdraw slightly, her small body trembling uncontrollably. Olivia realized with devastating clarity that she didn't know how to physically help her own daughter. "I command thousands of employees, but I can't steady my own child," she thought, her sense of helplessness absolute. Ethan, seeing Olivia's frozen desperation, took immediate, decisive action. He quickly found a vending machine that was still operational on backup power, purchased a small juice box and a packet of glucose tablets, items he always kept awareness of in stations, then knelt beside Lily, speaking in a low, calm voice. "Lily, can you hear me? I need you to take small sips of this juice. It will help your body feel stronger." He demonstrated slow breathing, encouraging her to match his rhythm. "Can you feel the bench beneath you? What color is my jacket? Can you count my fingers?" he asked gently, grounding her in simple sensory details. Lily followed Ethan's steady guidance. Within minutes, color returned to her cheeks, and her breathing normalized. She relaxed fully, leaning against Ethan's shoulder, a complete physical surrender of trust. She whispered, "You're really warm, Mr. Ethan." "Like a blanket." Olivia watched the scene. Ethan, the railway worker, cradling her fragile daughter with expert care, and her eyes filled with silent tears. She had never witnessed such instant, profound competence and compassion combined. She realized her immense wealth had paid for the finest pediatricians and specialists, but none of them had ever provided this immediate human comfort. This single, brief exchange of genuine care was more powerful than years of premium healthcare plans. The second crisis immediately followed. A younger station employee rushed toward Ethan, his face pale with alarm. "Sir, the backup generator is failing, and I just noticed the track sensors on Platform 7 are showing erratic readings. The signal lights are flickering in an abnormal pattern. I reported it to the operations manager, but he dismissed it, said it was just the power fluctuation." Ethan's expression hardened with concern. "That flickering pattern, I know what it means. The sensors and sections of the track have frozen over. If a train approaches at speed while the signals are malfunctioning, it could cause a catastrophic derailment. We need to halt all incoming trains immediately." Ethan moved with purposeful urgency toward the operations center. Olivia, now fully alert, followed closely. The operations manager, a pompous man named Director Morrison, dismissed Ethan's concerns with barely concealed contempt. "Listen, I don't need a track maintenance grunt telling me how to run this station. The power fluctuation caused the sensor glitch. It will stabilize. We are not halting trains and causing delays based on your paranoid speculation. Do you have any idea the cost of stopping the network?" Ethan stood firm, his voice quiet but carrying undeniable authority. "Director Morrison, I spent 8 years designing and monitoring these exact warning systems. That flickering pattern indicates ice crystal formation on the track sensors and potential rail contraction. If we don't act in the next 20 minutes, the 9:45 express will approach Platform 7 at full speed with compromised signal data. The risk of derailment is critical." Morrison sneered. "And who exactly are you to question my operational judgment? You're a maintenance worker. You fix broken lights." Olivia stepped forward, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "Director Morrison, this man just saved my daughter's life with medical expertise that none of your station staff demonstrated. And his credentials in railway safety systems far exceed yours. I suggest you listen to him, or I will personally ensure your career ends before this storm does." Morrison's face flushed red, but before he could respond, the station's emergency communication system crackled to life, an automated warning about incoming train traffic approaching Platform 7. The situation was rapidly becoming critical. Olivia turned to Ethan, her eyes filled with desperation and newfound trust. "What do we do?" He looked at her steadily. "We override the system manually and halt that train. But I need access to the control room, now." Olivia pulled out her phone and made 3 rapid calls, invoking her corporate influence and connections. Within minutes, they had authorization to enter the restricted operations center. Ethan worked with focused precision, manually overriding the automated signals and sending emergency halt commands to the approaching train, while simultaneously coordinating with remote traffic control. Olivia watched him transform from the humble man on the bench to a commanding professional. His expertise undeniable, his calm under pressure extraordinary. The train screeched to a halt just 800 meters from the compromised section of track. The passengers and crew were entirely unaware of how close they had come to disaster. When the crisis was contained, Olivia and Ethan returned to find Lily and Jackson huddled together under a shared blanket. Jackson was telling Lily elaborate stories about his father's heroic moments, fixing broken systems and rescuing stranded passengers. Lily listened with rapt attention, her earlier fear completely replaced by admiration. She looked up as the adults approached and ran to hug Ethan's waist. "Mr. Ethan, you're like a real superhero. You saved the train and you saved me." Ethan knelt down, his eyes warm. "You helped too, Lily. You were so brave staying calm with Jackson. Real heroes help each other." Olivia felt an unfamiliar warmth spread through her chest, watching her daughter embrace this man she had met only hours ago. She realized that in the space of one morning, Ethan had given Lily more genuine security than years of expensive protection details ever had. A news crew that had been stranded in the station during the storm began to gather footage of the aftermath. Director Morrison, sensing an opportunity to deflect blame, approached the journalists with a prepared statement. "Unfortunately," he declared loudly, "the situation was exacerbated by a maintenance worker who created unnecessary panic. We had everything under control before his interference caused confusion." Olivia's expression turned to ice. She stepped directly into the camera's view, her voice carrying the cold precision that had destroyed corporate rivals across 3 continents. "Director Morrison," she began, "let me present the facts clearly. This maintenance worker, as you dismissively call him, is Ethan Brooks, a former senior railway safety specialist who designed monitoring systems used across this entire network. Tonight, he identified a critical sensor malfunction that your operations team ignored. He manually overrode the signal system and halted an incoming express train that was 800 meters from a frozen, compromised rail section. If not for his intervention, we would be reporting a mass casualty derailment, not a weather delay." She turned to the cameras, her gaze unflinching. "Mr. Brooks also provided emergency medical assistance to my daughter when she suffered a hypoglycemic episode, something your station's first aid personnel failed to notice. I have requested security footage from this terminal, which will clearly show the sequence of events, including Director Morrison's dismissal of Mr. Brooks's warnings." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "Any attempt to scapegoat this man will be met with the full legal and financial resources of Bennett Technologies." Director Morrison's face drained of color. The journalists turned their cameras toward him, hungry for the confrontation. Morrison stammered, trying to recover. This is a mischaracterization. I merely suggested. The younger station employee who had first reported the sensor issue to Ethan stepped forward nervously. That's not true, Director Morrison. I reported the sensor readings to you directly, and you told me to ignore them. Mr. Brooks was the only one who took the warning seriously. Several other station workers began to murmur in agreement, nodding and glancing nervously at the cameras. The tide had turned. Morrison was escorted away by railway authority officials, his career in ruins. A senior railway official approached Olivia and Ethan, her expression grave but respectful. "Mr. Brooks," she said, "your actions tonight prevented what our preliminary analysis suggests would have been a catastrophic incident. We owe you an enormous debt of gratitude. We would be honored if you would consider returning to a senior safety consultation role." Ethan looked at Jackson, who was still holding Lily's hand, both children watching him with wide, hopeful eyes. He turned back to the official. "I appreciate the offer, truly, but I left that position to be present for my son. I'm not interested in titles or recognition. I'm interested in being there for him every day." Olivia watched him, her heart stirring with something she hadn't felt in years, a profound respect that bordered on something deeper. As the storm outside began to subside and emergency services restored full power, Olivia made a quiet decision. She approached Ethan and the children. "Jackson, Lily, would you two like to ride back to the city on my company's private train car? We have comfortable seats, and I believe there might be hot chocolate involved." The children cheered. Jackson hugged his father's leg excitedly. "Dad, can we, please? This is so cool." Ethan hesitated. "Miss Bennett, I don't want to impose. You've already done so much by defending me to the media." Olivia shook her head, her voice softer than it had been all day. "You saved my daughter's life. You prevented a disaster that could have killed hundreds. The least I can offer is a warm ride home. This isn't charity, Ethan. This is gratitude." The private train car was elegant but felt strangely empty to Olivia as they boarded. She realized it had always felt empty, a cold monument to her corporate success. But as Jackson and Lily tumbled onto the plush seats, giggling and exploring every luxurious detail, the space transformed. Jackson discovered a hidden compartment with board games and immediately challenged Lily to a competition, their laughter filling the car with genuine warmth. Olivia found herself watching them, a smile playing on her lips that she couldn't suppress. Ethan settled into a seat across from her, adjusting his worn uniform jacket self-consciously. "This is quite different from the benches in the main terminal," he admitted. Olivia laughed softly. "Tonight it doesn't matter. Tonight, you're exactly where you should be." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching their children's joy as the train began to move smoothly through the snow-covered landscape. The storm clouds were breaking, and pale winter sunlight streamed through the windows. Lily ran over and climbed onto the seat beside Ethan, looking up at him with adoring eyes. "Mr. Ethan, can you teach me more about trains? Jackson says you know everything. I want to learn how the signals work and how you stopped the accident." Ethan glanced at Olivia, who nodded encouragingly. He began explaining the basics of railway safety systems in simple terms, drawing diagrams on a napkin, his patience and clarity captivating both children. Olivia watched him, realizing that while her empire was built on artificial intelligence, Ethan's wisdom was built on human connection and genuine service. Later, Olivia and Ethan found a quiet moment in the observation section of the train car, the children visible through the glass door, still absorbed in their board game. "How do you do it?" Olivia asked, her voice tinged with genuine wonder. "I have entire teams dedicated to my daughter's well-being, yet I miss everything. I delegate her education, her comfort, her emotional needs. I delegate her entire childhood." Ethan smiled gently. "I don't delegate because I can't afford to, but more importantly, I don't delegate because I learned the hardest way possible that presence is the most valuable thing we can give. Every time I help Jackson with homework, or pack his lunch, or sit with him when he's scared, I'm not just completing a task. I'm building a memory. My time is the only wealth that truly matters. He looked at Olivia with unexpected directness. You have unlimited financial resources, Olivia, but I have unlimited presence for my son. Both are forms of wealth, just very different ones. Lily tugged on her mother's hand, her eyes wide with excitement as she watched Ethan interact with Jackson. Mom, Mr. Ethan is like the dad in my storybooks. He makes everything feel safe and fun. Olivia's breath caught. Her daughter's simple observation struck the deepest chord in her heart. Lily was expressing the need for warmth, stability, and engaged presence that Olivia's demanding career had never allowed her to provide. She realized with painful clarity that her daughter was starving for exactly what Ethan gave Jackson so effortlessly. Olivia led Ethan to the rear observation platform of the train car, where they could see the snow-covered landscape rolling by under clearing skies. For years, she began, her voice soft and vulnerable, I believed I could buy my daughter everything she needed. The best schools, the finest health care, the most advanced educational technology. She confessed, but tonight, I realized I bought her isolation. You gave her 10 minutes of genuine human warmth that my entire fortune couldn't purchase. Ethan nodded slowly. Money builds walls, Olivia, but connection builds bridges. You have to choose which one you want to live behind. She looked at him, her corporate armor completely dissolved. I've spent my whole career being seen as a warrior, a disruptor, a force of innovation. I built walls of cold efficiency to protect myself from a world that constantly tried to tear me down. But those walls didn't keep the dangers out. They kept the warmth out. Tonight, you didn't just prevent a disaster. She paused, her voice cracking slightly. You reminded me what it means to be human. Olivia stopped Ethan at the door of the observation platform as the train slowed, approaching the city. She looked at him directly, not as a CEO addressing a subordinate, but as a woman making a heartfelt request. I want to see you again, she said, her voice firm but vulnerable. I need someone I can actually trust. Someone who sees the person behind the title, someone who can teach me how to be present for my daughter the way you are for Jackson. I need you in my life, Ethan. This isn't a job offer. This is something far more important. Ethan looked at her, seeing a woman exhausted by her own success, but now radiating something he hadn't expected. Hope. He glanced at Jackson and Lily, who were pressed against the window together, pointing excitedly at the city lights approaching, their hands intertwined like old friends. For them, he said finally, for those two children who somehow decided they belonged together, I want to try. I want to see where this journey takes us. Olivia smiled, and it was the most genuine, unguarded expression she had allowed herself in years. I think our children have already made the decision for us. The train glided into the station, the platform bustling with passengers reunited with loved ones after the storm. Olivia, Ethan, Lily, and Jackson stepped off together, the two children running ahead, hand in hand, laughing at some private joke they had invented during the journey. Olivia watched them, then looked at Ethan, the morning light catching the snow crystals in his hair, making him look almost ethereal. This isn't how I expected today to go, she admitted. Ethan laughed, a warm, genuine sound. The best journeys rarely follow the scheduled route. Olivia reached out and took his hand, a simple gesture that felt revolutionary. A silent promise exchanged between two people who had found connection where they least expected it. They were no longer the cold tech billionaire and the humble railway engineer. They were two parents, united by circumstance, transformed by crisis, and hopeful for a future neither had dared to imagine. The children ran ahead, their laughter echoing through the station. The winter sun broke fully through the clouds, casting long intertwined shadows of all four of them across the platform. A new, unconventional family, formed not by wealth or status, but by a shared moment of vulnerability, earned trust, and the unexpected magic of a snowstorm that brought two worlds together. If you believe stories like this deserve to be told, leave a comment and subscribe.